Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. In this presentation, we're going to explore some intriguing questions about Freemasons and the so-called Illuminati. Our focus will be on debunking common myths and uncovering the true secrets behind these groups. On this first slide, you see the title, Debunking Myths, Are Freemasons Illuminati? Are Freemasons really Illuminati? The True Secrets. We'll be looking at what's fact and what's fiction, and I'll guide you through the fascinating truths along the way. So, let's get started and uncover the facts together. Welcome to our second slide, where we begin to explore the fascinating world of Freemasonry and the Illuminati. We'll look at how these two groups are often compared, highlighting their similarities and differences. It's important to understand that both have rich histories, but they are often misunderstood or misrepresented. We'll also address some common myths and misconceptions that surround them, which tend to fuel conspiracy theories. The media plays a big role here, sometimes sensationalizing stories or spreading assumptions that aren't backed by facts. This influences how the public perceives these organizations, often blurring the line between reality and fiction. Next, we'll see how historical events have impacted public perceptions of these groups, shaping their reputations over time. We'll also look at notable individuals who are or were Freemasons, emphasizing their real contributions to society, which are often overlooked in sensationalized narratives. Finally, we'll hear some expert opinions that help us debunk the myths and separate fact from fiction. By the end of this slide, I hope you'll have a clearer understanding of the truth behind these organizations, beyond the myths and misconceptions. This sets the stage for a more nuanced discussion as we move forward in the presentation. Welcome to our exploration of some of the most intriguing and often discussed secret societies. In this slide, we're starting with an introduction to Freemasonry and the Illuminati. These groups have captured the imagination of many for centuries, often shrouded in mystery and speculation. Freemasonry, in particular, is one of the oldest fraternal organizations, with roots dating back to the late Middle Ages. It's built around principles of brotherhood, moral development, and charitable work, but it also has a complex system of symbols and rituals that have led to a lot of curiosity and conspiracy theories. On the other hand, the Illuminati is often depicted as a secret society that allegedly seeks to control world events from behind the scenes. While the historical Illuminati was a real organization founded in the late 1700s in Bavaria, much of what we hear today is amplified by myths and modern interpretations. The key point here is that both groups are frequently linked in popular culture and conspiracy narratives, but they have very different origins and purposes. Understanding these differences is crucial as we move forward in examining their influence and the myths surrounding them. This overview sets the stage for a deeper dive into their histories, beliefs, and the role they may or may not play in shaping world affairs. Let's start by exploring what Freemasonry really is. At its core, Freemasonry is a fraternal organization that has its roots in the late 16th to early 17th century. It originally grew out of medieval stonemason guilds, which were groups of craftsmen working together on building projects. Over time, these guilds began to focus more on moral and ethical development, promoting personal growth, community service, and shared rituals that were kept secret. It's important to clarify that Freemasonry is not connected to the Illuminati, which is a separate group that came about in the 18th century. Now, what are the main principles that guide Freemasonry? Well, it's all about living morally and ethically, helping others, and striving for personal improvement. The key ideals are brotherly love, meaning respect and friendship among members, relief, which involves charity and supporting those in need, and truth, emphasizing honesty and integrity. Despite some myths, Freemasonry is not linked to secret societies like the Illuminati, but instead focuses on these universal values. Moving on to how Freemasonry is organized. It operates as a hierarchical structure, starting with local lodges where members meet regularly. These lodges are overseen by larger regional and national grand lodges, which ensure the tradition and standards are maintained. Members advance through different degrees, each designed to reinforce moral lessons and personal development. It's a system that encourages growth and ethical living. Again, some misconceptions link Freemasonry to groups like the Illuminati, but these are just myths. Freemasonry's focus has always been on moral betterment and community service. Now, let's delve into the origins and creation of the Illuminati and Freemasonry. Many people often get these two mixed up, but they actually have distinct beginnings. Freemasonry started in the late 1500s as a fraternal organization focused on moral and personal development. On the other hand, the Illuminati was founded much later, in 1776, in Bavaria, with the goal of promoting Enlightenment ideals like reason and secularism. These different roots show that they are separate entities, and it's important to understand that not all Freemasons are part of the Illuminati, despite common myths. Speaking of myths, there's a lot of confusion surrounding these groups. People often lump them together because they both involve secrecy and rituals. But the truth is, Freemasonry is mainly about personal growth, brotherhood, and moral teachings. The Illuminati, however, was a short-lived group that aimed to promote rational thought and challenge traditional authority. Recognizing these differences helps us see that many stories and conspiracy theories about their supposed connections are simply misconceptions. Finally, when we look at their historical impact, it's clear they played different roles in society. Both emerged during the Enlightenment, a period of major change and new ideas. The Illuminati sought to advance reason and secrecy, sometimes stirring controversy and fear. Freemasonry, meanwhile, focused on moral improvement and building a sense of community. These different focuses led to distinct influences on societal development, shaping ideas about governance, morality, and individual rights in unique ways. Connecting this all to our overall theme, understanding these origins and distinctions helps us see that the myth of a single, all-powerful Illuminati controlling world events is just that, a myth. It's essential to approach these topics with a clear view of their true historical and cultural contexts. Now, let's take a closer look at how Freemasonry and the Illuminati compare, as this is a common point of confusion. Both are often linked in conspiracy theories, but they are quite different in their origins, goals, and structures. Freemasonry, for example, is a centuries-old fraternal organization that emphasizes moral development, charity, and brotherhood. It's made up of local lodges around the world, and its members are usually ordinary men seeking personal growth and community service. The Illuminati, on the other hand, was a secret society founded in the late 18th century with the aim of promoting Enlightenment ideals and challenging traditional authority. Their influence, as claimed by many theories, extends into global control, but historically, their existence was short-lived and much more secretive. It's important to understand that while both groups have been associated with secret rituals and influence, their main differences lie in their purpose and scope. Freemasonry is more about personal and moral development within a structured fraternity, whereas the Illuminati, at least historically, aimed to influence political and societal change from behind the scenes. Recognizing these distinctions helps us see how myths and conspiracy theories often blur the lines between fact and fiction, especially when these groups are linked together without clear evidence. This comparison ties into the broader theme of how secret societies are portrayed and perceived in our culture. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the key differences between Freemasonry and the Illuminati. First, regarding membership criteria, Freemasonry requires members to believe in a higher power and to be of good character. It's an inclusive organization that welcomes men who meet these moral standards. In contrast, the Illuminati historically aimed for a more exclusive, elite membership, often favoring individuals with societal influence or status, and they focused on secretive and sometimes radical ideas. Moving on to their goals and objectives, Freemasonry emphasizes moral and ethical development, community service, and personal growth. It's really about fostering brotherhood and charity, helping members become better individuals and contributing positively to society. The Illuminati, on the other hand, sought to promote Enlightenment ideals, but often through secrecy and political influence. Their aim was societal transformation, which sometimes meant working behind the scenes in ways that could be perceived as more radical or clandestine. Finally, public perception plays a significant role. Freemasonry is generally seen as a respectable fraternal organization focused on moral development and community service. It's viewed positively by many. Conversely, the Illuminati is often perceived as a secret society with sinister motives, which has led to suspicion and conspiracy theories over the years. This stark difference in perception influences how each organization is viewed in popular culture and society at large. Overall, these differences highlight the contrasting nature of these groups, one grounded in moral fraternity and open community engagement, and the other rooted in secrecy and societal influence. Now, let's take a closer look at the areas where Freemasonry and the Illuminati overlap and diverge. Both groups have historically influenced society and leadership in different ways. Freemasonry, for example, emphasizes community service and personal ethics, encouraging members to contribute positively to society. In contrast, the Illuminati is often linked with conspiracy theories and secretive control, which gives them a very different reputation in the public eye. This contrast highlights how each organization has played distinct roles in shaping societal structures. Moving on to symbolism and rituals, both groups use these tools to communicate deeper meanings. Freemasonry relies on symbols like the square and compass, which stand for moral integrity and personal development. Meanwhile, the Illuminati tends to favor esoteric symbols, often associated with political influence and hidden knowledge. So, while both use symbols and rituals, their purposes differ. One aims to promote moral growth, the other is linked to broader political or ideological goals. Finally, let's consider their historical interactions. The Bavarian Illuminati, founded in 1776, actually attracted some members from Masonic lodges. This connection has led to many misconceptions about their relationship. However, despite some overlap in members or ideas, their goals and organizational structures remained quite separate. They were influenced by Enlightenment ideals, which valued reason and liberty, but each organization pursued those ideals in its own way. Overall, understanding these overlaps and distinctions helps us see how both groups have contributed to cultural and societal developments, sometimes intersecting, sometimes diverging, shaping the complex history we've been exploring today. Now, let's take a moment to address some of the common myths and misconceptions that often surround this topic. It's easy to fall into these traps because they seem plausible or are widely accepted, but they can really distort our understanding. One of the biggest myths is that this issue is rare or only affects a small group of people. In reality, it's more common than many realize and can impact a diverse range of individuals. Another misconception is that it's solely a matter of personal responsibility, meaning, if someone struggles, it's just because they aren't trying hard enough. But as we'll see, there are often underlying factors beyond just effort. It's also important to understand that these myths can lead to stigma or shame, making it harder for people to seek help. By debunking these misconceptions, we can create a more accurate understanding and foster a more supportive environment. This ties into our overall theme of awareness and education, because the more we challenge false beliefs, the better equipped we are to address the real issues. So, keep these myths in mind as we continue. Being aware of what's false helps us focus on what's true and what truly matters. Now, let's take a closer look at the myth of control surrounding Freemasons. Many people believe that Freemasons are secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes and controlling global affairs. But the truth is, there's simply no evidence to support that claim. Freemasonry is really about personal growth and community service, not about orchestrating world events from behind the scenes. The idea that they control everything is a myth, something fueled more by conspiracy theories than by facts. Moving on to the question, are Freemasons really in charge? Well, a lot of conspiracy theories make that link between Freemasons and the Illuminati, suggesting they have a hidden hand in world affairs. But in reality, these stories come from fear and misunderstanding. They tend to oversimplify complex societal issues and ignore the diverse, charitable work that Freemasonry actually does. It's important to see beyond these sensational stories and understand the true nature of the organization. Now, let's talk about the role of conspiracy theories in shaping these perceptions. Many believe that Freemasons are connected to secretive groups like the Illuminati and that they aim for global domination. But in truth, Freemasonry is focused on moral and ethical development. There's no secret agenda or desire for control, just a commitment to personal betterment and community service. This gap between what people think and what Freemasonry actually is illustrates how misconceptions can distort reality. Finally, I want to highlight the difference between public perception and reality. While the myths suggest secret control and influence, the reality is quite different. Freemasonry is a transparent, charitable organization that emphasizes moral growth. Understanding this contrast is key to seeing how myths can distort the true story behind these groups. It reminds us to approach such claims with critical thinking and to recognize the importance of factual information. Now, let's explore the secretive nature of Freemasonry and how it's often misunderstood. First, we need to distinguish between secrecy and privacy. Freemasons do keep some aspects of their rituals and discussions private, but this isn't about hiding anything sinister. It's more about protecting the identities of members and preserving traditions that have been passed down for centuries. This is an important point because many people jump to conclusions and assume there's something malicious behind the secrecy. Next, there's the common misconception linking Freemasonry to the Illuminati. In the past, this connection was fueled by a lack of transparency, but today, increased openness has clarified that they are completely separate entities. They have different goals, histories, and values. Despite this, media often blurs the lines, portraying Freemasons and Illuminati as if they're the same. This sensationalized view is designed more for entertainment than for accuracy, and it overshadows the real purpose and principles of Freemasonry. So, understanding these distinctions helps us see that secrecy in Freemasonry isn't about nefarious plots, but about tradition, privacy, and respect for their members. And recognizing how media representations can distort these facts is key to gaining a clearer, more accurate picture. Now, let's take a closer look at the role of the media in shaping our beliefs. Media, whether it's television, social media, newspapers, or online platforms, has a powerful influence on how we view the world. It doesn't just inform us, it also frames the way we interpret information and form opinions. One key point to remember is that media often highlights certain stories or perspectives, which can lead us to develop specific beliefs about issues or groups. This process is called agenda setting. It influences what we think about, even if it doesn't tell us exactly what to think. Another important concept is framing. Media outlets present information in particular ways, emphasizing certain details while downplaying others. This framing can shape our perceptions and attitudes, sometimes subtly guiding us towards specific conclusions without us even realizing it. It's also crucial to recognize that media can reinforce existing beliefs through confirmation bias. By selecting stories and sources that align with what we already believe, it makes our views seem more validated and widespread. Throughout this presentation, we've seen how powerful media can be in either fostering a well-informed society or, conversely, spreading misinformation. Understanding this influence is vital because it helps us become more critical consumers of information and more aware of the potential biases at play. So, as we move forward, keep in mind that the media is not just a mirror of reality, but also a shaper of our perceptions and beliefs, making it essential to approach it thoughtfully and critically. When it comes to how Freemasonry is portrayed in the media, films and documentaries play a significant role. Often, these productions tend to sensationalize the organization, emphasizing secrecy and linking it to conspiracy theories, most notably the idea of the Illuminati. While these portrayals are entertaining, they can distort the truth and shape public perception in a way that fosters myths and mistrust. This, in turn, makes it harder for people to see what Freemasonry is really about, including its charitable work and community initiatives. Moving on to news coverage, the trend is quite similar. Headlines frequently highlight alleged secrets or conspiracies, fueling suspicion and fear. Many times, news stories draw connections between Freemasons and the Illuminati without evidence, which only reinforces misconceptions. This type of coverage influences public opinion negatively and can prevent people from understanding the true values and purposes of Freemasonry. And then there's social media, which has a powerful impact because of its reach and immediacy. Unfortunately, social media often amplifies these misconceptions. Viral videos or posts might portray Freemasonry as a secret or sinister organization, further reinforcing the myth of an Illuminati connection. This kind of content spreads misinformation quickly, making it even more challenging for the public to differentiate fact from fiction and to appreciate what Freemasonry actually stands for. Overall, these media influences, whether in films, news, or social media, tend to distort the reality of Freemasonry. They reinforce myths and conspiracy theories, which can create a barrier to understanding the true nature of the organization and its positive contributions to society. When we look at how the Illuminati and similar secret societies are portrayed in popular culture, it's fascinating to see the different ways they're depicted across various media. In literature and fiction, for example, there's often a tendency to conflate Freemasons with the Illuminati, which can really fuel misconceptions. Writers tend to dramatize these secret societies as powerful puppeteers behind the scenes, shaping world events. This kind of storytelling perpetuates myths and stereotypes that these groups are shadowy rulers pulling strings from the darkness. Moving into music and pop culture, we see similar themes. Many songs and media portray Freemasons and the Illuminati as secretive and all-powerful, often linked to conspiracy theories. These portrayals create a sense of mystery and suspicion, which can influence how people perceive these organizations, sometimes making them seem more ominous or influential than they really are. And then there's the internet, where these ideas really flourish. Conspiracy theories spread rapidly online, often blurring the line between fact and fiction. Sensationalized stories connect the dots between Freemasons and the Illuminati, even when there's little evidence. This amplifies mistrust and feeds into popular narratives that often overshadow the reality of these groups. Overall, these media representations play a huge role in shaping public perception, often reinforcing myths rather than clarifying truths. They connect back to our overall theme by showing how culture, through stories, music, and internet rumors, continues to influence how we view these secret societies, whether accurately or not. Let's take a moment to look at some of the key historical events and see how they've shaped the landscape we're discussing today. These moments aren't just isolated incidents. They have had profound impacts that ripple through time. For example, significant technological breakthroughs often set new standards and open up opportunities we might not have imagined before. Similarly, major policy shifts can redefine industry practices and influence public perception. Understanding these events helps us grasp the broader context and the evolution of the field. It also reminds us that progress is often driven by a combination of innovation, challenge, and adaptation. Connecting these historical milestones to our current theme highlights how past decisions and innovations continue to influence our present and guide our future. So, recognizing these events isn't just about history. It's about understanding the foundation on which we're building today's advancements. Let's take a closer look at some of the notable events involving Freemasonry throughout history. First, when it comes to political movements, Freemasonry has often been linked, sometimes quite controversially, to major revolutions like the American and French revolutions. While there were certainly members involved in these events, the idea that there was a single, unified Masonic agenda pushing these revolutions is largely speculative. Many of these claims are fueled more by conspiracy theories than by solid evidence. Moving on to social reforms, Freemasonry has a rich history of promoting positive societal change. Members have championed education, civic responsibility, and the promotion of equality. Throughout history, some prominent figures within Freemasonry have played crucial roles in advancing these causes, contributing to movements that support liberty and justice for all. This highlights how the organization has often aligned with broader goals of societal progress. Lastly, when we consider cultural contributions, Freemasonry has had a significant impact on the arts, education, and philanthropy. Its emphasis on Enlightenment ideals helped foster creativity, critical thinking, and community service. Many members have been instrumental in establishing public institutions like schools and libraries, which continue to shape modern democratic values and community life today. Overall, these events illustrate how Freemasonry's influence extends across political, social, and cultural spheres, reinforcing its role in shaping the foundations of modern society. Let's take a closer look at the historical associations with the Illuminati. Throughout history, certain figures have become central to the stories and controversies surrounding the order. One of the most notable is Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776. His role in establishing the organization has made him a key figure in many conspiracy theories. In addition, some prominent leaders from the 18th century are suspected of being members, which has fueled suspicion and intrigue. These associations have led to a web of conspiracy theories that often link the Illuminati with Freemasonry. Unfortunately, these stories frequently distort or exaggerate historical facts to create sensational narratives that capture public imagination. Moving on, key events like the emergence of the Bavarian Illuminati and the widespread anti-Masonic movements of the 19th century have played a big role in shaping how people perceive the group. These moments, whether real or perceived, helped entrench the idea that the Illuminati was involved in secret control and influence. These events also contributed to the blending of stories about the Illuminati with Freemason lore, creating a mystique that persists today. It's important to recognize that these perceptions have been amplified over time, often fueled by myths and sensationalism. Finally, when we look at the myths versus the facts, it's clear that many stories about the Illuminati are based on misconceptions. While myths suggest a direct, ongoing connection with Freemasonry or world domination, the historical facts tell a different story. The Illuminati was a short-lived organization with specific goals, separate from Freemasonry in origin and purpose. Understanding this distinction helps us see how complex and often misunderstood the relationship really is. It's a fascinating mix of history, myth, and conspiracy that continues to shape how we view secret societies today. Now, let's take a look at some real-life Freemasons and their contributions. Throughout history, many influential individuals have been members of Freemasonry, and their achievements have left a lasting impact on society. These men came from diverse backgrounds, scientists, writers, leaders, and they often shared a commitment to principles like charity, integrity, and the pursuit of knowledge. For example, we see Freemasons who contributed significantly to science, arts, and politics, demonstrating how the values of Freemasonry can inspire positive change. Highlighting these figures helps us understand that Freemasonry isn't just about rituals or symbols. It's about fostering moral development and community service. So, by exploring these contributions, we see how the ideals of Freemasonry continue to influence the world today, reinforcing the overall theme that this organization promotes betterment, both personally and societally. Many of the founding fathers, including well-known figures like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, were Freemasons. Their involvement in Freemasonry highlighted core values such as liberty and fraternity, which played a significant role in shaping America's democratic principles. This connection helped foster a spirit of collaboration and moral governance during the early days of the nation. Moving beyond politics, prominent Freemasons like Benjamin Franklin and Sir Isaac Newton made major contributions to science and culture. Their work in fields like physics, philosophy, and civic leadership not only advanced human knowledge, but also influenced modern Western thought. This underscores that Freemasonry is more about promoting intellectual exchange and progress rather than any conspiratorial agendas. Freemasons have also been deeply involved in philanthropy. They've funded educational initiatives, hospitals, and disaster relief efforts, reflecting a strong commitment to community service. These charitable activities embody values of brotherhood, support, and social responsibility, which are essential to their principles. It's important to recognize that these efforts are genuine and distinct from the conspiracy theories often associated with groups like the Illuminati. Overall, the influence of Freemasonry on America's founding, science, culture, and philanthropy highlights their role in fostering community, progress, and moral leadership, values that continue to resonate today. Now, let's talk about modern-day Freemasonry and how it continues to evolve in our communities. Today's Freemasons are deeply involved in community engagement, supporting a wide range of charitable initiatives, educational programs, and local projects. Their contributions play a significant role in enhancing social welfare and building a sense of camaraderie among members and the broader community. This active involvement helps counter some of the misconceptions people have about their exclusivity and secretiveness, showing that they're committed to making a positive societal impact. However, modern Freemasons also face challenges. Public misconceptions still persist, often fueled by myths and stereotypes, and like many organizations, they're experiencing a decline in membership. Despite these hurdles, they remain dedicated to community service and philanthropy, making efforts to dispel myths that link them to secretive groups like the Illuminati. Instead, they emphasize their core values of friendship, moral development, and contributing positively to society. In response to these challenges, Freemasonry has adapted its traditions. Today, they focus more on social outreach, charitable work, and community engagement. Transparency and inclusivity have become key parts of their evolution, helping to improve their public image. This shift not only contrasts the old myth of secret elitism, but also highlights their ongoing commitment to societal betterment. Overall, modern Freemasonry continues to balance tradition with adaptation, ensuring their relevance and positive influence in today's world. Now, on this slide, we're diving into some common myths and misconceptions that often surround this topic. It's really important to address these head-on because they can lead us astray or create unnecessary confusion. When experts weigh in, they help clarify what's fact and what's fiction. For example, one myth suggests that this approach is too risky or unproven, but the specialists' opinions actually show that with proper implementation, it's both safe and effective. This is a perfect example of how expert insights can debunk false beliefs and reinforce the real potential here. As we move through this, remember that separating myth from fact is crucial to making informed decisions, and that's exactly what this presentation aims to do. It's about equipping you with the right knowledge so you can see the true value and potential of what we're discussing. So, let's continue to challenge misconceptions and focus on the facts that experts are sharing with us. Now, let's take a closer look at how scholars view the connection between Freemasonry and the Illuminati. Generally, historians agree that these are two separate groups with different origins and purposes. While it's true that both have been the subject of various conspiracy theories, credible research shows that the supposed overlaps are largely exaggerated and lack solid evidence. Moving on to sociologists, these experts argue that much of the linking of Freemasons to the Illuminati comes from societal fears of secrecy and concentrated power. They point out that these beliefs often ignore the clear historical and ideological differences between the two groups. It's a reminder of how important it is to critically examine our sources before accepting such claims as fact. Finally, psychologists offer insight into why these conspiracy theories, like the idea that Freemasons are the Illuminati, persist. They suggest that these beliefs often stem from cognitive biases, our mental shortcuts, and a deep desire for control, especially in uncertain times. These simplistic explanations tend to fill a psychological need to make sense of complex social issues, but they often reflect broader mistrust in institutions rather than any real, factual connection. Overall, these perspectives help us see that while conspiracy theories are compelling and widespread, scholarly research emphasizes their lack of basis in reality. This understanding is crucial as we navigate the broader theme of critical thinking and evidence-based analysis in our exploration of secret societies. Now, let's look at what many Freemasons themselves have to say about their experiences. They often emphasize that their organization is really about community service, personal growth, and maintaining high ethical standards. It's not about secret agendas or hidden conspiracies. In fact, many Freemasons highlight the importance of fellowship and charity work, which helps to dispel the common myth that they are connected to the Illuminati or any other secret society with sinister motives. It's also important to address some of the myths they face. For example, there's often a misconception that Freemasons are directly linked to the Illuminati. Experts clarify that, although both groups share some superficial similarities, their purposes and structures are very different. Freemasons focus on moral development, charity, and community building. The Illuminati, on the other hand, is often associated with conspiracy theories and secrecy, and those connections are unfounded. Many Freemasons make it clear that they see themselves as distinct from the Illuminati. They describe the Illuminati as a myth, a false narrative that has been exaggerated over time. Their focus remains on moral values and community service, rather than secret control or conspiratorial plans. In essence, they want to dismiss any claims of a connection with the Illuminati as simply incorrect. So overall, these personal testimonies help reinforce that Freemasonry is about doing good, personal development, and transparency, values that stand in stark contrast to the myths and misconceptions often circulated. Now, as we reach the conclusion of our discussion, I want to emphasize the importance of understanding the difference between truth and myth. Throughout this presentation, we've explored how myths can often shape our perceptions, sometimes leading us away from reality. It's crucial to recognize that while myths may contain elements of truth or cultural significance, they can also distort facts or oversimplify complex issues. The key point here is to develop a critical mindset, question what we hear, seek evidence, and understand context. By doing so, we can uncover the truth beneath the myths and make more informed decisions. This ties back to our overall theme, which is about awareness and discernment in a world full of information, some accurate, some not. Remember, understanding the difference empowers us to navigate challenges more effectively and fosters a more nuanced perspective on the world around us. Let's wrap up with a quick summary of the key points. First, it's important to understand that Freemasons and the Illuminati are two completely separate organizations. They have different histories, beliefs, and goals. While myths often intertwine their identities, recognizing their differences is crucial to clearing up misconceptions and understanding the reality behind these groups. Next, many people associate Freemasons with the Illuminati because of various conspiracy theories. But the truth is, Freemasonry is a fraternal organization that focuses on moral and ethical development. On the other hand, the Illuminati refers to different historical groups and modern myths. Distinguishing between these helps us avoid unfounded speculation and better understand what each organization truly represents. Finally, critical thinking plays a vital role here. With so many stories and narratives circulating, it's essential to develop analytical skills. By questioning what we hear and see, we can separate fact from fiction, challenge misconceptions, and appreciate the nuanced realities behind these organizations. This approach ultimately leads to a more informed and accurate understanding of their true nature. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize the importance of encouraging informed dialogue. Understanding the difference between what's true and what's myth is essential, because it helps us engage in respectful conversations about organizations like the Freemasons and the so-called Illuminati. When we approach these topics with an open mind, we can clear up misconceptions and foster a deeper understanding, which in turn promotes critical thinking and a better grasp of their historical contexts. Next, challenging conspiracy theories plays a crucial role in this process. Instead of accepting sensational stories at face value, we should scrutinize their origins and motives. This kind of skepticism helps us differentiate fact from fiction and prevents unfounded fears from taking hold. By doing so, we gain a clearer picture of organizations like the Freemasons and dispel myths that often distort their true nature. Finally, it's important to recognize how cultural influences shape our perceptions. Fear, fascination, and historical narratives all intertwine, blending myth with reality. When we analyze these stories critically, we see how these perceptions are fueled, and we better understand why misconceptions persist. Ultimately, By examining these narratives carefully, we can separate fact from fiction and develop a more nuanced, informed perspective on these groups. All of these points connect back to our overall theme, promoting understanding through critical thinking and respectful dialogue, rather than accepting sensationalism or misinformation. And that brings us to the final slide, Masonic Audiobook Library 2025. I want to thank you all for your attention and engagement throughout this presentation. What we've discussed highlights the importance of expanding our resources and making knowledge more accessible through a dedicated audiobook library. This initiative not only preserves our traditions, but also invites new generations to connect with our history and teachings in a modern, engaging way. Remember, the future of Freemasonry depends on how well we adapt and share our values. So, as we look ahead to 2025, I encourage everyone to support and contribute to this project. Thank you again for your time, your interest, and your commitment to our shared journey.